everyone, and welcome to Find Your Flow. I am Natalie, and today we're going back to basics. We have a gorgeous beginner's practice. If you are new to yoga, this would be a great place to start. Hop into your super comfy clothes and I'll meet you on the mat. So, coming to the ground and finding a comfortable seat of your choice. You can sit cross-legged. You might like one leg in front of the other, maybe the legs out long, anything at all, but making sure that we have some sort of support underneath the hips. So I have a yoga block here, but you can use a book, a blanket, a folded towel, absolutely anything, just to lift the hips up. So instead of finding this collapse in our pelvis, we can keep it nice and tall, a lovely long line from our tailbone all the way through our spine up to the crown of our head. So making sure you find a comfy space for you. Everybody is different. And whenever we're sorted, start to close the eyes or soften the gaze. And scan through the body from the crown of our head all the way through and down to the tip of our toes. Asking yourself, is there anywhere you're holding any tension or tightness? And if so, is there a way we can release this? Perhaps we're holding something in the muscles of the face. Maybe we could find a little more space between our shoulders and our earlobes. And just allowing the stomach area to be soft and the rib cage. So as we breathe, we can breathe freely. And bringing our attention to our breath as we inhale and exhale through the nose. And being mindful not to force the breath or try and make it extra super long or deep. Just simply being with the breath as it is today. And perhaps for the first time all day, all week, all month, we've actually chosen to take the time to slow down. So recognizing what you have brought with you to the mat today. If you're stressed, anxious, perhaps a bit too busy, you might be feeling great, energized, happy. Whatever it is, just notice that. And then leave everything to one side that we've done so far today. And just come to forget the to-do list as we arrive in this space. And come to tune in with this breath as it unfolds one by one. And as we keep breathing here, can we imagine our stomach is inflating like a balloon with every inhale? And with every exhale, that balloon deflates and softens. And either keeping the hands where they are or bringing them to this space so we can really feel this. Inhaling, inflate. Exhaling, deflate. Gorgeous. Nice. Inhaling through the nose and opening the mouth. Sigh your exhale out. Empty everything 2 more times. Let go of something that no longer serves you. Nice. And then softly come to flutter the eyes open as we bring the hands to the back of the head. So we aren't gripping onto the head, rather keeping them there as some support, opening the elbows nice and wide and keeping the shoulders soft. Then floating our right elbow down towards the ground. Keeping space as we bend through our left side body, breathing in. And breathing out, rolling the chin towards the chest and rounding the spine, gazing down now. Then floating the left elbow down, gazing forwards. And then tipping the chin back slightly as we lift our heart towards the sky, gazing up just a little, keeping the elbows nice and wide, nice. And then sending our circle in the opposite direction, so left elbow down first. And rolling forward, chin towards the chest, and over towards the right. Lifting all the way back up, taking a breath in and out. This time, keeping the gaze and the heart lifted, but floating the hands back behind us like airplane wings. Taking one full breath here, before bringing the hands back behind the head and sending the left elbow down towards the ground. From here, sending the left hand down and reaching the right hand towards the sky. Keep reaching as we start to fold over towards the left side. And if we're collapsing here and rolling our right shoulder forwards, can we notice this and really spiral our heart upwards? Beautiful. Coming back to center, hands behind the back of the head and then chin down towards the chest, really rounding the spine into flexion, reaching the arms forwards here. Finding space between the palms or bringing them together. Listen to what feels good. Finding one breath. And hands back to the head, lifting up slightly and rolling over to the right. Nice. Taking the right hand down, left hand reaches for the sky, really reaching and then folding all the way over to the right. Keeping the lower body rooted and grounding down to the earth. And then floating the hands back and lifting all the way to center. Releasing the arms and just starting to circle through the wrists and open the fingers, really spreading and finding space in the hands. Nice. Keep circling as we reach the arms out wide. Imagine our hands are like the headlights of a car flashing on and off. And then keep reaching, one more breath. And then release the hands and cross the left arm over the top of the right. Just come to hug yourself. And softening, reaching the arms out wide and taking the right arm on top of the left this time. Nice, take a full breath in here. And then releasing and lifting off your support. Just placing that to one side for now as we bring the feet to the ground. Reaching the arms out in front, curling the chin towards the chest, and nice and slowly. See how slow we can go. Use the arms if we need to for support as we come down to the ground. Trying to touch each vertebra of our spine on the mat one by one. Nice. And whenever we arrive there, don't worry if you flop at the last minute. Walking the feet onto the ground, bringing the ankles roughly beneath the knee space and planting the palms either side of the torso. Floating the hips off the mat, and this time we're peeling our spine off. One vertebra at a time, the lower back, mid-back, starting to get to the upper back and then coming all the way back. Bringing the upper back, the mid-back and the lower back onto the earth. Nice. Moving up and down slowly, really feeling your spine moving as much as we can as individual parts. Just waking up the front body, the back body, finding this fluidity and keeping rooting down through all four corners of both feet and both of our hands. One more time wherever you are, rolling and releasing. We'll meet with our spine on the ground and taking the right leg, reaching it towards the sky so we can keep as generous bend in the right knee as we'd like to. Just make sure we aren't locking into this joint. Taking our hands to the back of the hamstring or the back of the calf, wherever feels most comfortable. If we have a yoga strap or a belt or a towel, we can use it around the center of our foot and relax our hands down to the ground. But wherever we are, flexing the right toes towards the face. And just finding a little bit more space in the back of the right leg. Notice if our hips and lower back start to travel off the ground. And if they do, root them down, even if it means we don't bring the legs so far, it doesn't matter how far we go. Just find one more breath here. And then releasing the right foot down and lifting the left leg all the way up now. And notice the space and how it might differ on one side to the other. Just being really inquisitive and listening to things rather than worrying about how they look. How does this feel? Finding one more breath here. Before releasing the left leg, but bringing both legs up now. Bringing the shins so they're parallel to the sky. There's a nice bend in the knees. Hands reach all the way up. And start to circle the ankles and the wrists. And spread through the toes and again through the fingers. Nice. But really start to open the knees as well. Imagine that we have a pencil on both of our kneecaps and we're trying to draw circles with the knees. And then the arms start to follow, almost like we're treading water or trying to swim breaststroke on our backs. Nice. And then swim in the opposite direction. And find one more breath here. Before releasing, we're bringing the legs back up, hands down either side of the two bony landmarks of the hips. And notice if the lower back starts to arch off the mat here. And if it does, can we hug the knees in a little bit closer so we're really rooting down towards the ground with our lower back. Taking a breath in. And as we breathe out, tapping our right toes down and in front onto the mat. Nice. Lifting all the way back up and tapping the left toes down. Start to notice this connection to our deep abdominal muscles in our center as we tap from side to side. Nice. Option to keep the hands where they are if our lower back's staying on the ground, or reach them towards the sky now. Notice how this might change the way this feels. Beautiful. Tapping down one more time to each side. Keep breathing, keep breathing. Nice, coming all the way up. And for one go, we're going to tap both toes down at the same time. Moving slowly, keeping the lower back on the ground. And lifting all the way back up. Nice, just hug the knees in. Curl the forehead towards the knees and gently rock from side to side. Then bring the head down, rolling onto your right side. Use the palms to press up and come into all fours. In yoga, this is what we call tabletop pose. So with our wrists beneath our shoulders and our knees beneath our hips, we're actively pressing away from the ground. So we aren't collapsing into our shoulder space, but rather lifting up and out. And keeping our gaze down, head and neck nice and long, and an extension of our spine. Taking a breath in and a breath out. And then rolling our tailbone down towards the ground. We'll start to arch our spine towards the sky and drop our gaze in between our thighs, really picturing an angry cat here as we round the spine all the way up. Taking a breath in, and as we breathe out, lifting the tailbone up towards the sky and sending our tummy down to the ground this time. Our gaze starts to roll forwards just in front of our hands, finding cow pose, beautiful. Just really exploring this as we roll the tailbone back down, roll through each of our vertebrae, and then drop the gaze, cat pose. And lifting the tailbone, rolling through, keep pressing through the palms, keeping the neck nice and long, cow pose. One more time, trust yourself, really feel how this feels. Rooting down through the tops of the feet and mindful we aren't locking into the elbows. And floating back to our neutral spine. We'll send the right leg out to the side and start to walk the hands back onto the hips. And if we need any support underneath our left knee, always take what you need here. And then sending the right hand down the right leg. Only as far as feels comfortable, we'll reach the left hand up towards the sky and fold really slightly over towards the right. Breathing in, this is just like what we did on the ground, but a little bit different in the legs. And breathing out, we'll float the left hand down onto the ground, or if we want to, we can take some support from our at-home props to lift the ground up towards us, and the right hand again either reaches for the sky or over. Listen to where there's space in your body. Taking a breath in and breath out, coming all the way back down to center. And stepping the left leg out now, finding our gate pose on the other side. So walking the hands all the way up and back, and then floating the left hand down the left leg, keeping this length in our spine as the right hand traces across the side body, reaches all the way up and then over. Nice. Just feeling into our hip space here. Take a nice inhale. Exhale, float through center and bring the right hand down onto your brick or the support. Left hand reaches all the way up to the sky, option to fold over here. Taking a nice breath in and exhale, float all the way back to your tabletop all fours. Sending the right leg out behind us now, and then bending the knees, we step it all the way forwards and find a lunge. So notice the space in between both of our legs. If we're on a tightrope, we look like we haven't got any space. Can we step our front leg a little bit wider so we can come to more like two parallel lines of a train track? And then sending the hands all the way towards the sky. We'll soften our elbows and our shoulders, finding cactus arms. So our arms are like the stem, the upper part of the cactus. And notice our front toes. If they're already clutching onto the mat for dear life, can we find the softness here and start to marry the effort of our practice with a sense of ease? Breathing in, breathing out. Left hand floats down towards the ground, either onto the mat or onto our support, as our right hand comes to the center of our chest. With every inhale, we'll spiral our ribs over towards the right side, gazing up slightly, and then exhaling to come all the way back to center. 2 more times. Inhaling to lift, exhaling to fold. Nice. Once more. And this time, as we spiral our heart open, we can reach our right hand towards the sky into a full twist. And then with the right arm, imagine it's like a windmill arm as it comes all the way back, down towards the ground and forwards. And then send it in the opposite direction, forwards, round, and all the way back. Nice. Releasing. Bringing both hands to the center of the mat and turning our right toes out to the side. So coming into something here called a lizard pose, and really make this your own, as with every pose. If we don't feel comfortable with our hands low, we can lift up onto as much height as we want to from our at-home props, our books, whatever we have. And in our lizard pose, we're just going to find a couple of breaths here, working into some space in the hips. Keeping this nice long spine, shoulders away from the ears. And then taking our hands either side of our front foot, lifting onto our fingertips. Remember, we can use our support here to lift us up a little higher. Wherever we are, just rock around, come all the way back, toes flex towards the face and all the way forwards, and start to move our hips in a bit of a circle, one direction and the other. And there's really no right or wrong, as long as this feels good, as long as we're getting some movement, some oil into the joints. Keeping breathing. Nice. And then jumping back to center. Hands to the ground and stepping the right leg back, just wiggling the hips slightly. Tucking the toes under, walking the hands a little bit further forward. We'll find a nice big circle round to the right, back over the toes, over to the left and forwards over the wrists, and find your circle in the opposite direction. Nice. Coming back into tabletop. Reset here, untuck the toes and float the left leg behind you. Bend the left knee and step it all the way forwards onto those two train track parallel lines in our lunge. Reaching the hands for the sky, softening into our cactus arms. Beautiful. Finding one more breath here. Before sending the right hand down, using what support you want to, left hand comes to the center of the chest. Inhaling, spiraling the ribs over to the left. Exhale, come back to center 2 more times. Really finding this movement through the ribs and finding space in the thoracic spine, sending lots and lots of love to the spine today. And after your 3rd time, lifting the left hand all the way to the sky, finding a twist. And sending the left hand all the way back, down and forwards, into that windmill arm, forwards, down and back. Releasing it down towards the ground as we turn our left toes out. Both hands come to center. Come to find your lizard pose on this side. So notice how you might need a little bit more support or less support. It's really beautiful to find how our body might change from side to side. So just finding a couple of breaths here. As always, taking what support you need underneath the back knee. And if it's on that awkward part of the kneecap, just moving it so it feels great. And then hands either side of the front foot, taking what support you need. We'll flex the left toes towards the face and just rock around here. Really find some gorgeous movement in the hips, in the back of the left leg. Can we keep this long line all the way from the tip of our tailbone to the crown of our head, finding one more breath. And coming all the way back to center, hands come to the ground as we step into our tabletop, all fours. And then from here, tucking the toes under, we'll send our hips back to come onto the heels, reaching the arms all the way out in front this time, pressing down through the palms. Peek at me if you need to. If it's your first time, we'll actively press down to lift the hips towards the sky, downward facing dog. And really leading with the hips, almost coming to a triangle shape. And if the heels don't touch the ground, that is absolutely cool. It does not matter at all. Just pedal through the heels here and find a little more space. Always being mindful to keep this bend in our knees so we can lengthen a little bit more through our spine and find a bit more space around the shoulder area. Taking one more breath here. As you exhale, slowly bring the knees down to the ground or float them as wide as our mat, toes coming to touch and sitting the hips onto the heels, chest and stomach and forehead down towards the ground. Child's pose. Now make child's pose your own. If this doesn't feel comfortable for you today, you can just come to a comfortable seat that does. We might like to have the knees a little bit closer together and the arms might like to float back. So really make your practice your own. Finding one more breath here. Knowing that we can revisit this posture at any point throughout our practice. And reaching the arms forwards, lifting back into our tabletop, tucking the toes under as we sit back on the heels, arms reach out, Pressing down through the palms to lift the hips, downward facing dog. Wiggling the hips from side to side. Imagine you have a tail in your down dog and you're just wagging it. Moving in a way that feels good. And then start to walk the hands back towards the feet, keeping this generous bend in the knees. Coming all the way back towards the back of our mat and finding a forward fold. So our feet are hips distance apart, if not a tiny bit wider. Our crown of our head is down towards the ground. The arms and head and neck are really, really heavy. Imagine we're like a heavy pendulum as we start to swing from side to side. And the more we bend our knees, the more love we send to our lower back and spine. So being really, really kind to yourself here. Swaying one more time to each side. Before coming back to center, rooting down through all four corners of both feet to start to slowly roll up to standing, but arms stay heavy. We're restacking our spine one vertebra at a time. Really slow this down. Articulate each part of the spine. The head and neck come up last of all. Nice. Coming to find a mountain pose. So our feet here are hips distance apart. Toes track forwards, our knees stay soft over our toes. And on your next inhale, reach the arms wide and up towards the sky. Exhale, bring the palms together and down at the heart in Anjali Mudra. Taking one more breath here. And then keeping the hands at the heart. Imagining we have two headlights of a car on our hip bones and we want to keep them facing forwards. We'll start to rotate from our ribs over towards the right side of our mat. Remember to keep those hip points forwards as much as you can and keeping the thumbs towards the sternum towards the thumbs. And from here, opening the arms wide into a nice open twist. And float the hands back together and come all the way back to center. Twisting over to the left side now. Taking a breath here before opening the arms wide. And floating all the way back and coming to center. One more time to each side. Keeping our spine nice and tall. Imagining somebody has a piece of string from the crown of our head that they're pulling towards the sky. And keeping this as soft as we can. We don't have to be so robotic with everything. Be gentle as we come back to center. Find one more breath. And then release the arms. And from here, we'll step our left leg forwards and turn our right toes out to around a 45-degree angle. So rooting down through all four corners of both feet, our back leg's long and our front knee is bent over our front ankle. We'll bring our hands to our hips and just like we did when we were in our lunge, finding our twist, we'll spiral our ribs over to the right side of our mat. And wherever our ribs are, we'll just send the hands out there. Reach the arms and come to find a warrior two. Nice. If you practiced in one of our other beginners classes, you will have experienced a warrior one, which is awesome. So keeping the shoulders soft and giving the arms this real purpose. Imagine we're shooting energy through our fingertips, gazing towards the front fingertips, feeling this strength we're finding in the lower body. Taking a breath in and out. On your next inhale, lengthen through the front leg as we float the palms together, up and overhead, and exhale to bend the knee. Nice. One more time. Inhale to lift. Exhale to release, arms wide, finding a full breath here. And then stepping the back foot all the way up to meet the front foot And shake everything out, coming back into our mountain pose. Nice. And whenever you're ready, stepping the left leg back this time, turning the left toes out. And going through our checklist, our front knee over our front ankle, back leg nice and long, hands to the rib cage as we spiral them over to the left side of the mat. Wherever the ribs are, the arms float wide, and find even more space between our shoulders and our earlobes, reaching nice and tall through our spine. Nice. Keep breathing here, but most importantly, can we smile? Find one more breath. And then inhaling, straighten through the front leg, reach the palms up towards each other overhead. Exhale, release, bend the knee, arms wide, one more time. Beautiful. One full inhale and exhale here. Before stepping the back foot to meet the front foot and shaking it out. Nice. Going to stillness in our mountain pose, taking an inhale through the nose. As you exhale, open the mouth, sigh it out. Curling the chin towards the chest, start to slowly roll down towards the ground. Nice and slowly, arms heavy, head and neck hanging. And in our forward fold, we'll plant the palms and step both feet back, either coming to a downward facing dog or a child's pose. So choose your own adventure here. If you're in down dog, we'll find 3 full breaths. So really explore this posture. Maybe this is the first time or second, third time that you've ever done this. So really keep it new and don't worry about what I'm doing so much. Really feel this for yourself. And then everybody coming to meet, knees on the ground in a child's pose. Make it your own. Take whatever support you might need underneath, perhaps the forehead or between the hips and the heels. Just to lift the ground up to you and really allow this to be a resting posture. And slowly press down into the ground to rise all the way up. Take your time as we scoot the legs over to one side and then come through to a seat on our mat. Hands come behind us, feet come as wide as our mat. And rolling the right thigh out and the left thigh in, coming to explore windscreen wipers. So left thigh out, right thigh in, just keeping the feet wide again to send some love to the sacrum space. And 2 more times over to each side, keeping this nice and soft. Nice. Whenever you've finished, make your way back to center. And lifting your hips up onto some support if you have some. As we send both legs out long. And then reaching the right leg all the way up and in. Keep the left toes lifting towards the face. We'll hug the left arm around the right leg. And then send the right hand behind us onto the earth, lifting onto the fingertips. And if we're finding this collapse as we come back, we can lift some sort of support underneath the back hand to again bring the ground up to us. So notice where we are and what support we want to take here as we twist, rotating through the rib cage and lifting nice and tall with every inhale and exploring this twist a bit more perhaps with every exhale. Mindful that we aren't just hoisting the head, neck and shoulder around, but really visiting this from our center. One more breath. And then coming all the way back. Right leg long, left leg hugs in. Keeping the right toes lifted towards the face. We hug the right arm around and then swim the left fingertips onto the earth behind us. Inhaling to grow tall. Exhale to twist perhaps a little more. Just really be where you are today though. Finding one more breath here. Before rolling back to center, both legs out long, both toes lifting towards the face and bending our knees here nice and generously. We'll lift even taller through our upper body, and as we reach tall, we'll inhale and then exhale to start to fold forwards. So rather than bringing our forehead down towards our knees, can we think about our stomach down towards our thighs, keeping this long line from our tailbone to our crown. Hands soften wherever they fall, either on the mat or on the legs. Just be mindful that we aren't locking into the knees and finding this round that puts a lot of pressure on a lot of areas here. And again, with every inhale, remind ourselves to lift tall. And with every exhale, maybe we fold a little more if there's space. But there's no rush to work into this space. Just take every practice as it comes. And one more breath. Before making your way up, taking your hips off your support. As we bend the knees, bring the feet to the earth, reach the hands out in front. Curl the chin towards the chest and start to make your way down to the ground. Slowly, one vertebra at a time, just like we did at the beginning of our practice. And we really connect to the center, nice. And then whenever we get here, hugging our knees in and just rocking gently side to side. Coming back. Hugging the right leg in, sending the left foot to the ground or out long with the leg. Curling the forehead towards the knee, rounding through the spine. And releasing, hugging the left leg in, right leg out. Forehead towards the knee, curling all the way up. And then softening and reaching both legs this time out long. That our hands reach behind us. And with every inhale, we reach a little bit further away, fingertips away from the heels. Exhaling to soften 2 more times. And your last exhale, release the arms. Take any tension away from the legs and come to lie down in our final and most precious resting posture, Shavasana. Now, in Shavasana, make this your own. If it doesn't feel great with the legs out long, we can bend the knees and bring the soles of the feet to the ground. And I invite you here to take the feet a bit wider and allow the knees to collapse in towards each other. So we're taking any pressure out of the legs and any compression out of the lower back. Hands can rest wherever they feel most comfortable. What we're looking for here is to simply allow ourselves to melt down into the earth beneath us. Imagine the ground were made of quicksand. We take all of the effort away from our muscles and completely surrender into a softness. if we haven't already, closing the eyes or softening the gaze. And scanning through our physical body again, just like we did at the start of our practice. And if there's any tension or tightness we're holding on to, maybe without even realizing, can we release? And if your attention has wandered, bringing it back to this space as we find 3 more breaths in stillness. Whenever you're ready, start to wiggle the fingers and toes. Really gently start to wake up the body, perhaps rolling through the wrists and the ankles, bending the knees and the elbows. Maybe you reach behind or hug everything in, taking it steady. And in your own time, rolling onto your right side. Staying there for a moment or two before using the palms to lift us into a comfortable seat. You can keep the eyes closed here or open them if that feels more comfortable. Resting the hands where they fall naturally, or floating the palms together at the heart center in Anjali Mudra. I thank you so much for joining me in our practice today. And from my heart to each and every one of yours, Namaste.